You see, the very first place disrespect is born is in the absence of boundaries. People don't usually wake up in the morning and say, "Let me go disrespect someone today." What happens is they test. They test to see how far they can push you, how much you're willing to tolerate, and how much of yourself you're willing to give away without saying a word in return. And here's the truth that most of us don't like to admit. The way people treat us is often the reflection of the way we've trained them to. Every time you let a cutting remark slide, every time you laugh off something that actually hurt you, every time you stay quiet when you should have spoken up, you're silently giving permission. And over time, that permission becomes expectation. Boundaries are not about being mean. They are not about creating distance for the sake of pride. Boundaries are clarity. They're the invisible lines that tell the world, this is where I stand. This is what I accept. And this is what I don't. Think about it in life. We respect fences. We respect stop signs. We respect the red light at an intersection. Why? Because they are clear. They tell us exactly what we can and cannot do. But many of us walk through relationships and workplaces like an open field with no fences at all. And then we wonder why people trample all over us. It's not because they're inherently bad, it's because we never put up the sign. The hardest part about setting boundaries is not speaking them out loud, it's convincing yourself you're allowed to. Somewhere along the line, you might have been taught that saying no is rude, that voicing your limits is selfish, that keeping people happy is the way to earn love or respect. But if you've lived that way for long enough, you already know how it feels: exhausting, draining, and most of all, disrespectful. Because every time you abandon your own needs to serve someone else's, you're quietly disrespecting yourself. And if you don't respect yourself, no one else will either. Now let me make this practical. Imagine someone consistently makes jokes at your expense in front of others. The old version of you might just laugh it off, secretly hoping they'll stop one day. But the version of you with boundaries will calmly say, "I don't appreciate being joked about like that. Please stop." Notice the tone there. It's not angry, it's not defensive, it's not filled with long explanations. It's clear, firm, and unapologetic. That's a boundary. You don't need to convince them why you feel that way. You don't need to write an essay defending yourself. You just need to state it and then stand by it. And here's where most people mess it up. They think setting a boundary means the other person will instantly respect it. Not always. In fact, the moment you first draw a line, you'll often face pushback. The jokes might get louder. The criticism might sharpen. They might say, "You've changed." And you know what? They're right. You have changed. You're no longer the person who sits quietly and swallows disrespect. You're someone who values yourself enough to speak up. And that's going to feel uncomfortable, not just for them, but for you too. But discomfort is the price of growth, and boundaries are the currency of respect. What happens over time, though, is powerful. Once people realize you're serious, once they see that your boundaries aren't just words but actions, something shifts. They either step up and treat you better, or they step out of your life altogether. And either outcome is a win. Because respect isn't about keeping everyone happy, it's about protecting your own peace. The most beautiful thing about boundaries is that they don't just change how others see you, they change how you see yourself. Every time you enforce a boundary, you send yourself a message: I matter, my feelings matter, my space matters. And that self-respect starts to compound. You start walking taller, speaking clearer, and carrying yourself in a way that makes people think twice before crossing you. So, if you want to live a life where no one disrespects you again, start here. Stop apologizing for having needs. Stop feeling guilty for saying no. Stop believing that silence is the same as peace. Your boundaries are not walls to keep people out. They are doors to let the right people in. And when you live by them consistently, you won't have to chase respect anymore. It will come to you naturally because you've taught the world exactly how to treat you. One of the greatest tests of respect happens in the moments when someone tries to get under your skin. Disrespect isn't always loud. Sometimes it's a quiet dig, a sarcastic laugh, a roll of the eyes meant to provoke you. Other times it's an outright insult, a raised voice, a deliberate attempt to knock you off balance. And here's what most of us do: we react. We fire back, we raise our voice, we let our emotions take over. But the instant you lose control of your emotions, you lose control of the situation. And when that happens, the other person wins because they've pulled you down to their level. Respect isn't about proving you're stronger, louder, or meaner. Respect is about composure. It's about being the calmest person in the room, no matter how loud the room gets. Think about it. When chaos breaks out, who do people look to for leadership? Not the one who panics, not the one who screams the loudest. They look to the one who stays steady, the one who doesn't let the storm outside create a storm inside. That's real strength. That's real respect. When someone disrespects you, their hidden goal is often to trigger you. They want to see if they can make you flinch, make you explode, make you lose control. Because if they can control your reaction, they can control you. The real power lies in refusing to hand them that control. Imagine this: someone insults you in front of others, fully expecting you to blow up and prove their point. But instead you pause, you breathe, you answer calmly, or maybe you don't answer at all. Suddenly, they look small. Not you, because nothing rattles a person more than realizing they can't rattle you. I've seen this play out in courtrooms, boardrooms, and everyday conversations. The person who stays calm, who listens, who measures their words, is always the one who walks away respected. And here's the part most people miss: calmness doesn't mean weakness. Calmness is not silence born from fear, it's silence born from strength. It's choosing not to swing at every pitch. It's showing that you don't need to react to prove your worth. So how do you control your emotions in these heated moments? First, understand that you are not your feelings. Anger will rise, frustration will boil, but you don't have to ride that wave. You can let it pass. You can choose the pause. That pause is everything. It gives your brain just enough space to shift from reacting to responding. And a response, unlike a reaction, is measured, intentional, and effective. Let me give you an example. Imagine you're at work and a colleague publicly criticizes your idea. The old version of you might snap back, "Well, at least I have ideas," or defend yourself with 10 different reasons why you're right. But the version of you who controls emotions simply says, "I hear your point. Let's talk through it." You've just disarmed them. You didn't give them the fight they were looking for. And in that moment, everyone in the room notices who actually has the authority. It's not the one throwing shade, it's the one who stayed steady. Now, does that mean you should never express anger or stand up for yourself? Absolutely not. Controlling your emotions doesn't mean burying them. It means mastering the timing and the delivery. Anger expressed in the right way, at the right time, can be powerful. But anger sprayed everywhere, uncontrolled, will always cost you respect. Think of it like fire. Controlled, it warms a home. Uncontrolled, it burns a home to the ground. Your emotions are the same. The truth is, people will try you. They'll press your buttons, sometimes intentionally, sometimes not. But if every button they press gets a reaction, you'll spend your whole life being controlled like a puppet. The moment you stop reacting, you cut the strings. You reclaim your power. And here's the beautiful part. The more you practice calm responses, the easier they become. The pause becomes natural. The composure becomes second nature. What happens then? People start to view you differently. They come to you for advice. They trust you more. They hesitate before disrespecting you because they know you won't play their game. You've risen above it. You've shown them that your respect is not up for negotiation, and neither is your peace of mind. So, if you want to command respect without demanding it, master your emotions. Be the calm in the storm. Be the person who doesn't flinch when provoked. Because the truth is, anyone can shout, anyone can explode, but very few can stand steady, unshaken, in the face of disrespect. And those are the people the world listens to. Those are the people no one forgets. And when you become one of them, disrespect has no place left to land. Respect often begins, and just as often ends, with the way you communicate. You can have all the confidence in the world, but if your words come out shaky, rushed, or unsure, people notice. And when people notice uncertainty, they take advantage of it. Authority in communication isn't about barking orders or raising your voice. It's about sending a clear signal that you believe in what you're saying, and therefore, others should too. Think about the last time you listened to someone who truly held the room. They didn't necessarily talk the loudest. In fact, sometimes the quietest person in the room can command the most attention. What made the difference? It was their tone, their pace, their posture, their choice of words. Authority isn't volume, it's presence. It's the feeling you give off that says, "I mean this, and I'm not asking for permission to say it." Most of us make the mistake of over-explaining ourselves. We fill our sentences with ums, "I just wanted to say," or if that's okay. Those small words seem harmless, but they weaken your message. They make you sound like you're asking instead of stating. And when you speak as if you're asking, people treat your words like suggestions instead of truths. Respect doesn't live in suggestion, it lives in conviction. For example, imagine you need to address a co-worker who keeps interrupting you during meetings. You could say, "Hey, I was just wondering if maybe you could not, cut me off when I'm talking, if that's okay." That sentence gives away all your authority. It's wrapped in hesitation. Now compare it to this: "I need you to let me finish my point before responding." Calm, direct, short, no apologies. That's communication with authority. And the second version doesn't leave any room for debate about whether you meant it. Authority also comes from body language. If your shoulders are hunched, your eyes on the floor, and your voice barely above a whisper, people read that before they even hear your words. Respect is communicated before a single word leaves your mouth. Stand tall, look people in the eye, and let your body say, "I'm here and I belong here." When you pair that with clear speech, you command attention without even asking for it. Another powerful tool is pacing. When we're nervous, we rush, we race through our sentences like we're sprinting to the finish line. But when you speak quickly, It communicates insecurities if you're afraid people will stop listening. The opposite is true. Slow down. Pause. Let silence work for you. Silence is not your enemy, it's your ally. Think of great leaders, great speakers, great negotiators. They know the pause is as important as the words themselves. That pause says, I'm in control of this conversation, and I'll speak on my terms, not yours. But authority in communication isn't only about how you speak, it's also about what you choose not to say. You don't have to respond to every jab, every insult, every attempt to drag you into a meaningless argument. Sometimes the most powerful communication is restraint, because when you refuse to engage in pointless battles, you show that your words have value, and people respect what they know is valuable. Here's another layer. Authority also comes from consistency. If today you say one thing and tomorrow you backtrack, your words lose weight. People don't just listen to what you say, they watch whether you live it. If you want your communication to carry authority, let your actions back it up. A person whose behavior and words line up will always command more respect than someone who talks big but wavers when it matters. And don't mistake authority for arrogance. Speaking with authority isn't about belittling others or forcing your opinion. It's about clarity and self-respect. When you speak with authority, you give people a gift. They don't have to guess where you stand. They don't have to decode what you mean. They know because you told them directly, calmly, and confidently. That's why authority is magnetic. People gravitate toward those who know their own mind. So the next time you're in a situation where disrespect threatens to creep in, pay attention to how you're communicating. Cut the filler words. Slow your pace. Stand tall. Be clear. Say what you mean without apology and without fear. When you do, you'll notice something. People stop talking over you. They stop testing you. They start listening. Not because you demanded their respect, but because you communicated in a way that left them no choice but to give it. Authority in communication is not about being the loudest voice in the room. It's about being the voice that people remember after the room goes quiet. And once you master that, you'll never need to chase respect. It will find you naturally in every word you speak. One of the quietest ways we teach people to disrespect us is by over-accommodating them. It doesn't always look obvious. It looks like saying yes when every part of you wants to say no. It looks like rearranging your schedule, your priorities, even your values, just so someone else won't be upset. It looks like carrying the weight of other people's responsibilities while neglecting your own. And over time, it turns into resentment, not just toward them, but toward yourself. Here's the hard truth. When you bend too much to keep other people comfortable, you end up breaking your own backbone. And when you show people that you're willing to bend that far, they stop respecting your limits. They stop respecting your time. They stop respecting you. Not because they're evil, not because they're out to get you, but because you've taught them that your comfort is always secondary to theirs. And once you've taught that lesson, people will continue to take from you until there's nothing left. We do this because we think it will win us respect, approval, even love. We think, if I'm always there, if I'm always agreeable, if I never disappoint anyone, they'll value me. But in reality, the opposite happens. The more you give without boundaries, the more invisible you become. People don't respect what's always available without effort. Think about it, the water from your tap runs endlessly, and most of us don't even notice it until it stops working. But when something is rare, when it has limits, people pay attention. They value it, they protect it. You're no different. Respect starts to grow when you stop over-accommodating and start living by your own priorities. That doesn't mean you become selfish or unkind. It means you finally recognize that your needs matter as much as everyone else's. It means you learn that saying no doesn't make you rude. It makes you honest, and honesty is the foundation of respect. Imagine you have a friend who constantly calls you last minute to vent, and you always pick up, even when you're exhausted. You listen for hours, nodding along, giving advice, while inside you're drained. The next time they call, you answer again, because you don't want them to feel abandoned. But here's what's happening. Every time you say yes to them, you're saying no to yourself. And over time, they don't see the sacrifice you're making. They just see someone who's always available, always accommodating. Your respect in their eyes actually decreases because your own respect for yourself is missing. Now picture the same scenario, but this time when the phone rings, you answer and say, I can't talk right now, I need to rest. Let's connect tomorrow. That one sentence shifts everything. You've just taught them that your time is valuable, that your energy is not infinite, and that your well-being comes first. And the people who truly care about you will adjust. The ones who only valued you for what you could give them, they'll fall away. And as painful as that feels in the moment, it's actually a gift, because it clears space for relationships built on mutual respect, not one-sided sacrifice. The fear of disappointing people is what keeps most of us trapped in over-accommodation. We think if we say no, people will leave. If we assert ourselves, they'll think less of us. But here's the paradox: the more you try to avoid disappointing others, the more you end up disappointing yourself. And the moment you start to disappoint yourself, respect from others slips right through your fingers. People may not always like your boundaries, but they will respect them. And the ones who don't respect them, they were never going to treat you well anyway. Respect isn't built by making yourself smaller so others can feel bigger. It's built by standing tall in your values, even when it makes someone else uncomfortable. So stop saying yes out of fear. Stop accommodating every demand at the expense of your own peace. Stop believing that self-sacrifice is the same as love. Real friendship, real respect, they don't require you to erase yourself. They require you to bring your whole self clearly and unapologetically to the table. And here's the freedom in all of this. When you stop over accommodating, you discover who actually values you for you, not for what you can give, not for how much of yourself you're willing to drain, but simply for being the person you are. And that kind of respect, that kind of loyalty, it's worth more than all the shallow approval in the world. So if you want to make sure no one disrespects you again, learn to say no without guilt, learn to prioritize your own needs, and learn to stop shrinking yourself to fit the mold of what other people expect. Because the moment you stop over accommodating, you stop teaching people to take advantage of you, and you start teaching them how to respect you the way you deserve. One of the strongest moves you can ever make in life is also the simplest: walk away. Now, when I say walk away, I don't mean storm out, slam doors, or disappear without explanation. I mean calmly, deliberately choosing not to stay in a space where your presence is being disrespected. Because here's the truth most people don't realize: disrespect can't survive without your participation. It only has power if you stand there and absorb it. Walking away is not weakness, it's wisdom. Weakness is staying in a situation where you're being belittled, mocked, or ignored just to prove a point, just to win the argument, or just to avoid looking soft. But strength is having enough self-respect to say, this is not worth my peace. This is not worth my energy. I don't have to prove myself here. Strength is recognizing that sometimes silence and distance deliver a louder message than any words ever could. Think about how arguments usually escalate. Someone throws an insult, you fire back, they raise their voice, you raise yours, and before long, no one even remembers what started it. Both of you are drained, and the disrespect is worse than when it began. Now picture the same situation, but instead of reacting, you simply say, I'm not going to continue this conversation while it's disrespectful. When you're ready to talk calmly, let me know. And then you leave. That moment, that's power. Because you've shown that your self-control is stronger than their attempt to control you. Here's the part people miss: walking away doesn't mean you're running from conflict. It means you're choosing the battlefield wisely. Not every comment, not every fight, not every person deserves your response. Some things don't deserve your energy at all. And when you walk away, you teach people that access to you is a privilege, not a guarantee. You're not available for every drama, every argument, every insult. You're available for respect, and if that's not being offered, you're gone. Of course, this takes practice because our pride screams at us to stay and defend ourselves. Our ego wants the last word. But here's the reality: the last word rarely changes anyone's mind. In fact, the louder you argue, the less people hear. Walking away communicates something deeper than words. It says, I don't need your approval, and I don't need to fight for my dignity. That's a message people remember long after you've left the room. I've seen this in relationships, in business, even in the courtroom. The person who knows when to step back is the person who usually wins in the long run. Because walking away doesn't close the door, it sets the terms. It says, when you're ready to treat me with respect, we can continue. Until then, I'm not interested. That's how you shift the power dynamic. You start being reactive and start being intentional. Now, walking away doesn't always mean leaving physically. Sometimes it's emotional walking away. It's choosing not to reply to the text that's baiting you into a fight. It's choosing not to engage in the gossip that's trying to pull you down. It's choosing not to invest your time and energy into people who consistently show you they don't value it. And here's the gift. The moment you stop pouring yourself into those spaces, you create room for relationships that do honor and respect you. Walking away also means letting go of the need to fix everything. Some people will never see your worth, no matter what you say, no matter how much you give. And if you keep staying, keep explaining, keep begging them to treat you better, you'll drain yourself dry. But when you walk away, you reclaim your energy. You stop handing them the power to define your value, and you start living by your own definition of it. I know it feels scary. Walking away can feel like losing, like giving up, like admitting defeat. But I promise you, it's the opposite. It's winning, it's freedom. Because the truth is, if you don't walk away from what disrespects you, you're walking away from yourself. And nothing is more costly than abandoning your own self-respect. So the next time someone tries to pull you into a battle of insults, or refuses to treat you the way you deserve, remember this: you don't need to fight to prove you're strong. Sometimes the strongest, most unforgettable thing you can do is smile, stand up, and walk away. Not because you're weak, but because you finally realize your peace is priceless, and no argument, no insult, no person is worth more than that. At the end of the day, respect begins and ends with the standards you set for yourself. Too many of us spend our lives chasing someone else's approval, measuring ourselves by someone else's rules, living up to someone else's expectations, and then we wonder why we always feel overlooked, unappreciated, or disrespected. The truth is, when you live by other people's standards, you hand them the keys to your worth. But when you live by your own standards, and you live by them consistently, you stop waiting for respect and you start commanding it without saying a word. People watch you more than they listen to you. They notice if you cut corners. They notice if you say one thing and live another. They notice if you change your values depending on who's in the room. And when they see that inconsistency, they lose respect. Why? Because respect isn't earned by being perfect, it's earned by being principled. And principles don't bend based on convenience. They stand even when it costs you something. Think about the people you respect most. Maybe it's a mentor, a leader, a teacher, a parent. Chances are, it's not because they gave in to everyone around them. It's because they had a line, they had a set of standards, honesty, integrity, discipline, kindness, and they lived by them whether it was easy or not. That kind of consistency builds trust. And trust is the foundation of respect. Living by your standards means you decide in advance who you are and how you show up, no matter the situation. If your standard is honesty, you tell the truth even when lying might get you ahead. If your standard is self-respect, you don't chase people who ignore you, no matter how badly you want their attention. If your standard is discipline, you follow through even when no one is watching. That's how you teach the world to take you seriously, not through speeches, not through demands, but through the quiet weight of consistency. The problem is, most of us lower our standards the moment they become inconvenient. We say we value self-respect, but then we let someone treat us poorly because we're afraid of being alone. We say we value honesty, but then we hide the truth because it's easier. We say we value discipline, but then we give up when it gets uncomfortable. Every time we compromise like that, we chip away at our own credibility, and people notice. They may not say it out loud, but in their minds, they start thinking, if you don't respect your own standards, why should I respect you? But here's the beautiful part: when you live by your own standards consistently, you don't need to explain yourself. You don't need to convince anyone of your worth. They see it. It's in the way you carry yourself. It's in the way you refuse to settle for less than what aligns with your values. It's in the way you keep showing up the same way day after day. That kind of integrity speaks louder than any words ever could. Let me give you a practical example. Imagine you're in a workplace where cutting corners is normal. Everyone takes shortcuts, everyone bends the rules, and no one really cares. You could follow the crowd. It would be easy. But instead, you stick to your standards. You do the work right, even if it takes longer. At first, people might roll their eyes. They might even mock you for trying too hard. But over time, something shifts. When it really matters, when something important is on the line, who do they trust? Not the ones who compromise. They trust you because you've shown that your standards aren't just words. They're who you are, and it's not just about work, it's about life. If your standard is treating people with dignity, then you treat the waiter, the cashier, the stranger on the street with the same respect you give a CEO. If your standard is health, you don't eat well and exercise only when someone's watching. You do it because that's who you are. If your standard is peace, you don't let yourself get dragged into drama, no matter how tempting it is. Every time you choose your standards over convenience, you reinforce your own respect, and people feel it. The reality is, not everyone will like you when you live this way. Some will feel threatened, some will criticize you. But here's the secret: respect doesn't require everyone to like you. In fact, if everyone likes you, it probably means you've bent too far, lowered too much, compromised too often. Real respect comes when you stop trying to please everyone and start honoring the values you hold. So if you want to live a life where no one ever disrespects you again, don't chase their standards. Define yours, live them, protect them. And when someone challenges them, stand firm. Because people may disagree with you, they may even dislike you, but they will not forget you. And more often than not, they will respect you. Not because you demanded it, but because you lived it. So here's where it all comes together. Respect isn't about forcing people to treat you a certain way. It's not about being louder, tougher, or more aggressive. Respect is built in the quiet decisions you make every single day. It's in your boundaries, the lines you draw and refuse to let anyone cross. It's in your tone, staying calm and in control when others lose theirs. It's in your consistency, showing up the same way with the same principles, no matter the circumstances. It's in your self-respect, refusing to shrink or beg for validation. It's in your actions, backing your words with follow through. And it's in your standards, living by values that don't bend for convenience or approval. When you put all of that together, you stop asking for respect. You stop waiting for it. You start commanding it. People notice. They may not always like you, but they will recognize you. They will remember you. And whether they admit it or not, they will respect you. But here's the challenge. None of this happens overnight. Respect isn't earned in a single conversation. It's earned in a lifetime of choices. Every day, you'll have opportunities to compromise, to lower the bar, to let someone else dictate who you are. And every day, you'll also have the chance to choose differently, to choose strength over weakness, dignity over drama, integrity over convenience. So the question is not, will people disrespect you? Because at some point, they will try. The real question is, what will you allow? What will you live by? Who will you be when it's not easy? Because when you choose your standards, when you hold your ground, when you walk through life with calm confidence and unwavering values, you don't just earn respect from others, you earn it from yourself. And that, my friends, is the kind of respect no one can take away. So the next time someone tries to test you, tries to belittle you, or tries to pull you out of your character, remember this: you don't have to fight for respect, you just have to live it. And if you do, I promise you, no one will ever disrespect you again.